Scott.
What's that? What happened?
I was waiting. I was like,
Well,
go ahead.
I had to make sure all the pieces and parts were in place, Emily. All right.
So I was the one jumping the gun here? False start?
Well, you
False
know,
start on me.
it's a team effort, so I'll go ahead and take
I
the
was
blame
nervous
with
you weren't taking the snap, man. I was like,
You always hear about the quarterback center exchange right there. It was one of those quarterback center. I think I've had a couple of those this week already, where the show starts and it's like always something at the start, but then it's great
no
from that point forward.
hesitations, bro. Like, come on. Like, get straight to it.
You're right. Well, then it ends up.
Let's do a redo. 3, 2.
Hello, Emily. Welcome to Sports Tonight, everybody. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman.
The one and only
Here with the
Scotty.
great Emily Gagnon.
We
Emily.
haven't been together in like a week.
I know it's been.
What a treat.
I feel like several jokes were missed during that time. Man. We have to make up on it tonight, man.
Yes, we definitely will. I'm looking forward to this. False start and all.
Hey, so I was out there with your buddy Kyle Pitts today, right?
Him.
He was out
Love
there
him.
at the Bellwood, Boys and Girls Club. He was out there today, hanging with some of the youngsters out there, tossing the football around, getting active and stuff. He did have the black sleeve.
I was gonna ask, like, what did he have on him, on his body? Like
So he had the
a
sleeve
brace
on his
or
knee.
what?
He had a sleeve.
a sleeve.
He
Oh,
had a
well, that's
sleeve on his
even
leg.
better.
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty
Black
good.
or white? Or
He had a
another
black
color?
sleeve.
Okay, I like to know these
Yeah.
little minute details.
Yep, he had a black sleeve on
Okay,
his knee, but he
okay.
was moving pretty well coming off. That was an MCL he tore last year, right? So he looked good, though. He looked like he was pretty mobile. He looked like he was jumping around with the kids pretty good and stuff. He was catching passes and everything. And then he said he'd be ready for week 1, man. So I guess.
You believe him?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. I mean, he seemed like he was looking forward to training camp. He talked about training camp
would
and how he
imagine.
can't ready. He's ready to get there and have the camaraderie with the guys. He kind of missed that. And he talked about, look, he said, there's no question about it. I'll be out there at least for week 1. So, look, I don't know how active he's going to be in preseason. I'm guessing they probably won't
not
put him
at
out
all.
there. Yeah, exactly.
No,
I'm
no.
guessing he'll be on that bike over there a whole lot.
With a towel on his head.
Yeah, he'll have a towel on his head.
Yeah.
He'll be on the bike. He'll be back probably away from the media and all that stuff most days. But he says he's going to be ready for week 1, and I believe him.
I like that he's out there in the community, hanging out with the kids while he's rehabbing, and perhaps other guys wouldn't be out there and doing things. And I know he's on the back end of it, so
Yeah.
I'm sure there aren't many risks at this point because he, let's be honest, would not be doing this if there were.
Sure.
But it's nice that he's taking his time before training camp starts, because right now we're down to like the wire, right? Training
there.
camp for the veterans, they report Tuesday, day 1 is on Wednesday, and we both know training camp is not something they enjoy. I'll go ahead and put it out there. I have never met a player that said, Emily, training camp is my jam.
Never, ever.
I love showing up for a month straight, being here on campus, not seeing my family and my friends, waking
Right.
up every morning at the crack of dawn and sweating my butt off every day. Like,
have a nice
I've
facility,
never
though.
heard that. Say that again?
They have a nice facility, though.
Yeah, I mean, but they have to still stay on campus like they're in college again. There's curfew. Maybe for the guys who love ball, they might like this, but I would imagine most guys are not fans. It's kind of weird to me because I feel like it's so old school. Now, what's the oldest of schools is 2-a-days, and they don't do that anymore.
No. Players Union won't allow that anymore. There's no more 2-a-days, man.
No.
I mean, that
The
was
good
when,
old days.
That was back when the days, like people like that's when they made men out of football players. That's what they always say.
They did. But now, I mean, they still have, they have practice in the morning and then walkthroughs.
Yeah.
So there's still things that are happening all day, but it's just not as rigorous as it once was.
Yeah,
Right. So
for sure.
I would love to talk to the players. I would love to know, do you think there's any players on the roster, and no, I don't believe that there would be, that have gone through 2-a-days? Like, do you think CP being in the league 10 years, he's witnessed 2-a-days?
Maybe him or Grady Jarrett, maybe, but I think
No,
they
because
kind of
Grady's been with the Falcons. Oh, gosh, do you think his first year with the
10
Falcons?
years, maybe like 13, 14.
I don't know, but it's been a
15
minute
first year,
since
yeah.
these guys have done that. But I do remember covering 2-a-days with the Buccaneers. And boy, I'm telling you what, it wasn't just the athletes, for us too. Like, we had to wake up at the crack of
It's
dawn, go
hard.
cover them. You get like a quick lunch break, and then you all over again. You start all over again.
Yeah.
Insane.
I mean, it's been a while since most teams have done 2-a-days, because I remember back when I first got into covering sports and everything like that.
Did you
would
do
hear-
them? I'm sure you covered them.
Yeah, I covered a few 2-a-days with the Browns back in
Yeah.
the day, and it was always, players obviously were not excited. A lot of fights, a whole lot of fights when it's
Oh, that's
2-a-days.
true. That is true. Yeah.
That's the fun part for us, is to watch those fights in training camp.
Well, for
because-
you, I'm not like completely obsessed with doing that.
Really?
No.
That's the fun part, is to see guys
They're
fighting.
fighting over nothing, literally. Like, come on, get over yourselves,
You don't
children.
think it's funny, like, see guys have totally
Like-
ineffective punches to the head because they're wearing helmets
and they're
stuff?
teammates. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? But they just get sick of like facing each other for so long, and yeah.
No.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, meh.
But when you
I'm
listen to
not obsessed
Kyle
with
today, look, he sounded like he was looking forward to it. I just think
I
he
hope
wants
he
to get
is.
back on the field and play some football, right? I
Heck
mean,
yeah.
when you tear your knee up and you're staring at rehab and you're off the football field for so long, I think a guy like him, he talked about the camaraderie and the sweat. He was one of the first veterans I've ever heard that actually sound like they were excited to come to training camp. So, it's probably because of
After
an
a
injury.
week, we'll
Yeah.
ask his opinion again.
Yeah, well, he's gonna be on the bike, so. But the rest of the guys,
Get
though,
real hot on that bike.
yeah, especially like the big dudes and stuff, like Lindstrom and those guys, I'm sure they hate training camp.
Calais Campbell.
Oh,
Gosh, can you
man.
imagine? I'm sure he probably won't participate for half of it. He's been playing for way too long. He's going to get a pass. CP's going to get a pass. I mean, they'll have to show up every once in a while. I mean, they'll be there, but they won't have to be on the field as much as like everyone else taking every snap. Yeah, no.
Calais Campbell, man, I'm sure he participated in some two-a-days.
Oh my gosh. I'll ask him. We'll have to ask him, Scott. We will
Yeah.
absolutely have to ask. Because yes, that is a great point. I absolutely believe that if anyone on the team has gone through them, he's one of them because he's been playing for 55,000 years.
Hey, man, hey, look, he used to pass rush Dan Marino probably, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, he participated in two-a-days.
Facts.
So,
Hey,
yeah,
since
for
we're
sure.
talking about Kyle Pitts, I want to talk about something real quick that I mentioned the other day. And I saw this, so I mentioned it the day before Georgia talked at SEC Media Days. Okay, so Kyle Pitts, the highest drafted tight end in NFL history at number 4 overall.
Wow.
When Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith took him in their first draft. Did you know that?
I didn't.
I
I mean,
didn't
probably
either.
at that time I may have, heard it and knew it, but
Yeah.
no, just thinking about it, no, that's pretty, wow, that's wild.
So, and I should probably go and see who was drafted closest to 4. Like, who can we compare Kyle Pitts to being taken? Can you remember?
Well, one memory of me, and it is because I'm a Browns fan. They took Kellen Winslow.
Oh my God, tell us one more time.
That's like this. They took Kellen Winslow number 6 overall. Kellen
Okay.
Winslow Jr.
So
No,
he might be the closest.
He
Did
might
you
be
think
the-
he was worth it?
Well, no, because as of right now, he's in the penitentiary, so he totally wasn't worth it, at least from that standpoint. But from a pure football
That wasn't
standpoint,
what I wasn't.
Well,
Yeah.
I know. No, but from a pure football standpoint, no,
I
it
thought-
wasn't worth it because he was kind of, unfortunately, look, I mean, Kyle tore his ACL last year. Kellen, I think his first year, broke his leg. Really only had
Injury
one or
prone.
2 solid seasons as a Brown, maybe about 2 or 3 solid seasons overall. He went to Tampa for a few years, maybe had a season or 2 there. But no, it probably really wasn't worth him being a top 6 pick, honestly.
So with me, that's interesting. But with what I was trying to get to, and
Yeah.
you would never know that this is what I'm trying to get to. But
Go for
Kyle
it.
Pitts, the last time I talked about him was just a couple days ago, because of Brock Bowers. And anytime I get to like squeeze a UGA fact in there, I'm going to.
For sure.
So over 2 seasons at Georgia, obviously Brock Bowers, in my opinion, should have won the Mackey Award both years, his freshman and his sophomore year. His freshman year, he had the best numbers in the country at tight
fair.
end, but he was a true freshman, and I feel like they just didn't want to give it to him
snubbed
because he
him.
was a baby. Yeah.
That's cool.
But if you just looked at the numbers, best in the country. They finally gave it to him his sophomore year. But over 2 years at Georgia, he's caught 100, and I'm going to be very specific, Scott, 119 passes for 1,824 receiving yards, 24 total touchdowns. That's in 2 years. So he has basically 120 passes caught for almost over 1,800 yards and 24 total touchdowns. Now, okay, again, with me saying that Kyle Pitts was the highest, or is the highest drafted tight end in NFL history.
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
You want to know his numbers? 3 years at Florida. 3, not 2. 3 years at Florida. Here are his numbers. 100 receptions, okay? So that means that our man Brock Bowers already has 20 over him for 1,492 yards. So that's 400 yards more than Kyle Pitts that
True.
Brock Bowers has.
Facts.
And 18 total touchdowns, which Brock has 6 more. And this, again, Pitts did it in 3 years. Bowers 2. That is astronomical. And I say that, I say all of this to you to say, like, can you imagine if my man Kyle Pitts was drafted 4 overall, where Brock Bowers might go
I knew that's
next
where you were
year?
going with it. I knew that's where you were
I
going
mean,
with this. I
could
knew
you
it.
see a team taking him 1 overall?
No.
Really? Okay, 2, 3, 4?
Maybe around 4.
So you think it could be like an even?
Yeah, I think it could be even. I don't think any team could really justify taking a tight end number 1 overall. Maybe a team who maybe just took a quarterback last year and they suck again this year. But even still, I don't think a team can really justify. I don't think tight end is that high on the priority level of positions, right? I mean, I think when
it is a sexier position than it was, though.
Yeah,
much sexier.
Certainly, but I just feel like because I just feel like when teams look to draft in that top 3, I think they're looking quarterback, pass rusher, cornerback. I think those positions normally take the priority. So true enough, there may not be a player in the draft at that position who may be better than Brock Bowers, but I just feel like from a team needs standpoint and being able to justify a draft pick to your fan base and to your owners and everything like that, I would have a hard time seeing a tight end, even if it's Brock Bowers and as good as he's been, going number 1 or even number 2 overall, honestly.
Okay. No, I mean, and that's a complete opinion on your own. But based off of what I just told you, I surely hope he can get drafted higher than Kyle Pitts, only because he's a stud. I mean, do you think he's going to slow down at all this year? I guess it depends on who his quarterback might be, right? I mean, we don't know who's going to start for Georgia. Carson Beck, it appears to be him.
Yeah.
He's been in the system longer than
like
the other guys. And he likes to throw the ball. And yesterday, on Tuesday at SEC Media Days when Georgia talked, finally teammates are trying to, they don't want to compare, but they're telling us the difference between the two. And from what we heard from the guys yesterday is they're saying, Carson Beck is more of like a pocket guy, and he's going to throw the ball a lot more. He's not as athletic as, let's say, Brock Vandagriff. He can't really run with the ball. So maybe Brock might have the best year of his career. It's still yet to come.
That's true. Hey, I just had to scroll through some of that when we were talking about the highest drafted tight ends. And first guy that popped up was my guy, Kellen Winslow.
Well, there you go. See,
I know he went high.
You had the answer without even.
I didn't even Google it yet.
Yeah, without me having to even say a word to you. See, this is how I know that you are the man for this show, because you know facts, even though it is your Browns. You know facts that I've never even thought to think about.
Well, I will. Look, there were 2 guys who went number 6 overall. So there was Kellen Winslow and there was Vernon Davis out in San Francisco.
Oh, and he was all right for a while.
He had a solid career. But I will say, though, number 8, T.J. Hawkinson, he's been traded already to the Vikings. And Eric Ebron went number 10. That's not a great list of tight ends taken in the top 10 as far as, being able to, when you just asked me a second ago, might he go number 1 or 2?
I think Brock Bowers is better than all of them. He hasn't even gone to the NFL yet.
Ooh, man, that's tough because, look, I saw Kellen Winslow at the University of Miami play. He was, Kellen Winslow, I thought he was going to change the game. Yeah, he was the best college tight end prospect I'd ever seen at that time. And I wasn't
he was cheated out of a national championship, wasn't he?
Come on now. Come on now. But no, I mean, against Ohio State in that game, he had one of the best games I'd ever seen against a great defense.
So they weren't cheated out of a national championship?
Look, I mean,
there are so many topics
if you think that pass interference, look, I mean, it happens, right? Sometimes there's bad calls, and yes, the Ohio State Buckeyes benefited from one, but no, I mean, but yeah, I thought just watching him in that game, I thought he was the best thing, and it was much like Brock Bowers, right? Because we're looking at Brock Bowers now and all the different things.
He's good. He's so good.
And he can do a lot of different things, right? He can run with the ball. You can give it to him and end the rounds. They throw a dink and dunk passes to them, and he turns them into big plays. He can do everything. He can go downfield. So he's the kind of tight end that you're looking at right now and saying he's probably going to change the position.
Facts.
They were saying the same thing about Kellen Winslow in 2004.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just saying.
Let's get over him.
I'm just saying.
But the position now, the tight end position now is valued way higher than it was back then.
Yeah, because more teams throw the ball now.
Correct.
Right.
Like tight ends used to just be like, "Hey, block that man." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, block that man.
Block that man.
Go out there, block that man.
you know who came up with that phrase? Our man Miles. Remember?
That's hilarious.
Guard
block
your
man.
man. What did he say?
Yeah, he came up here. He was like,
"Guard your man."
Play some defense.
So I took one out of Miles' playbook there. Guard that man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now it's more than that. It's catch that ball.
That ball.
And what I think is
That's
really
pretty simple.
Yeah,
guard your man and catch that ball.
Guard that man, catch that ball, block that guy.
That's hilarious.
Also, though, Darnell Washington last season, they used both of them quite a bit,
That's
right?
True. Yeah.
And now with Big O gone, you got to think like, wait a minute, is it possible to use Brock Bowers even more? Though I will say Delp, who's like a tight end in the great tight end in the making at Georgia, will probably, share a lot of that time with Brock Bowers. But again, we've got a new offensive coordinator this year, and I think a lot of what Georgia did the last couple of years had everything to do with Todd Monken and his genius. So let's see if Bobo can measure up. But I think losing, and I don't think that we're talking about it enough, losing Monken is going to affect the Dogs big time.
For sure.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. All right. Let's talk about Bama.
That's cool. We'll move on. You're hesitant. So Nick Saban, man, he sounded like he was upset. Well, not upset.
I think he feels disrespected, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, in media day to day, he's up there, and he's getting questions. I saw him on Get Up on ESPN this morning. He's fielding questions about UGA. Are they kind of taking you over and everything?
Are you guys still that guy?
Right, exactly. Or is Kirby and UGA taking your spot? And he's kind of like, look, I mean, some of our guys have a chip on their shoulder, and we're ready for the season. Yeah, I mean, so when you think about it, do you see them as this may sound like an obvious question, but do you see them as the biggest threat to take down UGA?
Okay, that's a great, complex question, okay? Let's start off here.
I knew I would get that from you.
Yes.
That's why I asked.
So yeah, I learned today that it was Saban's 16th straight SEC media days with Alabama, the most in SEC history. Yeah. Can you believe that?
He said he's been coaching for 50 years. I heard that this morning. I mean, the guy was
70,
coaching.
Isn't he? He's 70?
It might be
69 or 70?
I guess anyhow you slice it, the man was coaching.
Do you know his
6 years
birthday,
before
by the way?
born.
I know this is a very bizarre thing to
have no
ask
idea.
you, but when I tell you, it's going to make all the sense in the world. It's
What
a
is it?
holiday.
Oh, was it going to be Labor Day or
Do you want
something?
to no, Halloween.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, do you?
Yeah,
but
that's
do you
funny.
not like? It fits perfectly. I feel like Saban is kind of like this, like mysterious, like gargoyle, and his birthday being on Halloween, I think fits him perfectly. But yeah. So number one,
Saban was the Browns defensive coordinator, by the way. But go ahead.
wait, did he do well there?
Yeah, they were really good. He was under Bill Belichick in Cleveland.
So you don't mind him?
No, I mean, the guys really loved him. I mean, they thought he was a great, like this morning, they were talking about him and Louis Riddick from ESPN. He played for Saban in Cleveland.
I like that.
Yeah, and he talked about just how much he learned from Nick Saban and just how everyone knew he was going to be great. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, greatness is the definition of greatness is Nick Saban. We can't take that away from him. But I do feel like he is being disrespected by the media and fans because Alabama hasn't made any noise in the last couple of years. But like, what are you guys doing? Any school in America, including Georgia, would take that record. Okay, any school. Let's not forget that. That's what I think is so funny about Bama fans. And I love you, Bama fans. I love you. I'm not a hater. But like, you guys are so spoiled, and all of a sudden you don't make the Final Four in college ball, and you are like, oh my gosh, having a meltdown. Nick Saban is like off, like let's send him to the moon. But what are we doing here, guys? Like 7, wait, I think this year if they go to a national championship or play for a national championship, it would be the 7th that they played for. I think.
Something
I don't
like
know if you
that,
want to
yeah.
look that up for me.
Yeah.
But what? Like, yes, Georgia's gone to 3 in the last, 6 years. So, but who trained under Saban? Hi, Kirby Smart. Everything Kirby's doing, from what I understand, and I'm not lying about this, from what coaches tell me, from what I understand, Kirby is running Georgia exactly like Saban ran and is running Alabama.
Sure.
Mirror images. So Kirby stayed at Alabama long enough to learn from the best of the best of the best. And now he's implementing that at Georgia. Sometimes the student does pass the teacher, but Georgia's not there yet. Okay, they're not there yet. Now, if they three-peat this year, my gosh, I don't know. But we're not there yet. We're just not. But to say that Bama is Georgia's biggest threat this year, I don't know that because I don't really know who they have on their roster. This is a very young roster. We knew last year, this past season, we knew who was going to be quarterback.
Right.
We knew Bryce Young was going to be the guy. And we knew, in my opinion, he was still the best in the country, even though he got injured. And who did you have on defense?
That's true. Yeah, like Will Anderson and those guys.
Like
last
Will
year.
Anderson,
Yeah.
he was like the best in the country.
He's taking what number 3 overall in the draft? Yeah, so he was taking pretty
You
high
have
in the draft.
two of the best players in the entire country on the same team, one on offense, one on defense. You knew they were coming back. This year, those guys aren't there, and they accounted for a lot on that team. So that's why I say, is Alabama going to be Georgia's biggest threat? I don't know, and we won't find out until December if they play in the SEC championship game. If you want me to tell you who I think is going to be really good this year, is LSU.
Hey, that's what I was going to say. We got
I
the same mind
truly think, yes, you and I see
sure.
each other on the
Absolutely.
We're here
I was
together a
thinking
lot of
LSU,
times.
man.
The coach, sure, but again, we do know who they have at quarterback. And Jaden Daniels is good, even though my man Jalen Carter picked him up like he was a rag doll and, number
We don't
one.
have to worry about that this year, do we?
Correct.
Yeah,
But I do think LSU, if I had to pick a team right now that I thought would win the West, and I'm not discrediting Alabama because we should always say Alabama is in the conversation.
For sure.
But if I had to pick like a wild card and say like, hey, my gut's telling me LSU is going to be playing Georgia again in December at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, that's my thought. Your thought? You said you think LSU too?
I do. I mean, I don't feel strongly about that just because
Right, but
I
it's
never
like
want to go
there.
against Alabama. They did get the quarterback Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame, though. So I bet he'll be their starter this year. And so, yeah, this isn't one of these Alabama teams right now where we kind of know everybody. They have a lot of guys who are going to have to make some name for themselves. They don't have a lot of those great names coming back. But this is a Nick Saban team. So you know they're going to be well prepared. You know they're going to be well coached. And I think what at least felt like when I watched them play Georgia a couple years ago in that national championship game, it's almost like you just said. It's almost like, so I used to always joke around, like me and my little brother, we'd play video games all the time, right? Me and my little brother, we'd play Madden all the time, right? And I was really good. I was really good at the game. And my little brother, he was the hardest matchup for me because it was almost like playing myself because he kind of emulated everything that I did. He was really, it was like playing me. So it was really hard. I look at the same thing when Georgia plays Alabama. It's almost like they're playing each other. It's almost like they're playing themselves when they play Alabama because the coaches think alike. He's obviously came in under Nick Saban. I mean, he coached under Nick Saban. Yeah. And so I think the way the teams are built, how they play, how they're structured, their discipline and everything, it's almost like playing each other. So I think if UGA does have to play Alabama, that's going to be like the hardest game they have to play just because it's like they're playing themselves, because the coaches think there's so much in each other's minds and their theories are so alike. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard for me not to say that Alabama won't be the team that will be facing and will be the biggest threat to UGA. But LSU, you're right. I mean, they're kind of like the fun pick here. They're kind of like the
Have you been to a game
wheel.
at that stadium, Tiger Stadium?
I've not. Is it
Scott,
crazy?
you've got to put it on your list.
I will.
It's chef's kiss. It really, really is.
I will.
Like, yes, next time, whenever it's going to be a while before Georgia plays there again, you gotta go.
Now, why is that?
What makes it chef kiss?
No. Why is it going to be a while before they play there again?
Well, I guess it might not be the way the division's going right now after
Good.
2024. They might see each other, but they don't face off very often unless it's something like the SEC championship game. When we went like 4 years ago, Jake Fromm was the starting quarterback, so it's been a minute.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It was like, I'm talking about the things that those fans chant, and I've heard a lot. They say things that like, I mean,
but that's good. That's good
you
for
can't
sports,
ever
though, right?
repeat it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It's good for sports, so I love it. Look,
Absolutely. But Saban, do your thing, man. I'm rooting for you. Make all the doubters just hush a little bit. Like, I look forward to covering you in December when you guys play the Dogs. Like, that'd be great, even though I think LSU has a good chance.
I agree.
Plus, LSU has to beat Alabama, right? Like, you got to beat Alabama, and then you pave your own way.
Yeah.
But I did hear from a lot of people at SC Media Days that they thought, A&M was going to be the team this year.
That's
so,
cool.
You never do know. I think Jimbo always finds a way to mess it up, but that's just my opinion.
That's cool. Hey, look, we got a little bit of Braves business before we get out of here, right?
Braves business.
A little bit of Braves business. So, obviously, the team is kicking butt on the field. So, you too now, as of today, can own a piece of the Atlanta Braves as they're open to you can buy stock for the team. It's the first team in the last 25 years that you're now available to buy stock for. So,
buying some?
No, but I mean.
No? What's the price?
So I think it was at $43 per share. I think I saw it. So
we should buy one each.
what do you really get from it, though? I mean, maybe I'm just not educated enough when it comes to stocks and everything like that. Like, do you get to walk around like
No,
I own a piece of the Braves.
no. You just watch it grow as they keep kicking butt and making money.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and look, I mean, there's very few teams that are a sure bet than the Atlanta Braves right now. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess that couldn't be a
Don't you
bad
feel like they
investment,
could
right?
be good for like the next 15 years?
Absolutely. It seems like they, I mean, look, I know there were probably a couple years in there that they probably had some down years, but in my mind, watching from a distance, it seems like they've been good for almost 30. Like, seriously.
Yeah,
I mean, they've
right.
never, it doesn't seem like they've really had a bad period, like of just, just pure suck. Like they haven't had that kind of period that many teams go through. It seems like they're always in it. They're always competitive. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm going to buy stock in any team, it's probably going to be the Braves, right?
Yeah, $43. Buy you some. Just
Well, we'll
a
see.
couple. Just a couple. Well, that's cool. I mean, I'm into it.
Hey, look, so they also gave some of that dough to my guy Travis Darno, right? I mean, so
Deserving.
very deserving,
Deserving.
right? So he took a back seat to start the season,
He did.
right? And now he was rewarded 1 year extension, $8 million.
Yeah. You like that, or you think it should have been more? That's what the Braves discount. They don't pay over there.
Yeah, and look, I mean, he did. He's kind of like, look, I mean, what they have working for them right now as far as the catcher position is probably the best tandem in the league, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah,
I
so
agree.
you don't want to mess with that right now. I think it's a good thing to keep Darno in the fold. And look, I mean, the Braves are an organization more than any baseball organization I've ever seen that does things the right way, right? I mean,
But they don't pay.
I wish somebody would don't pay me $8 million then, and then I can say, give me $8 million, I'll be pretty happy. But I know,
Anthopoulos gets it done by like really keeping star players and not giving them the like absolute maximum amount.
Well, I
It's
guess
the
you got to look
Braves
at
discount.
it. They were smart in how they did it, right? They punched him in the stomach by devaluing him by getting his replacement. It didn't say, hey, we want to keep you, but we'll just give you $8 million to stay, But you're not as good as, you're not that good to hit the open market. So we'll bring in your replacement. But here's a nice, gift for you to just feel happy. Here's $8 million. That's kind of what they did. I mean, they kicked him in the stomach but then rewarded him later. So.
But that's okay. If you're gonna kick somebody in the stomach, give him money later.
Right, exactly. Look, anybody can kick me in the stomach as many times as they want to for $8 million.
Stop. We're not
all right?
kicking you in the stomach.
You can if you give me $8 million.
Oh Lord.
Let's go.
What's on your mind other than all this
Getting
madness
kicked in
you're
the stomach and
talking?
everything. Hey, look, I'm excited.
What are you excited about?
NFL couple teams reported. I think about 9 teams reported rookies for training camp yesterday. The Jets, I think, came to camp today because they're one of the early teams to get ready for their season. Since I think they play in the Hall of Fame game, right? So
They must.
Yeah, you know who they play in the Hall of Fame game, right?
Miles is looking over here. I'm waiting, Scott.
They play the Browns, don't they? Hall of Fame game, right? So, but that's really cool though because they both have players.
That is like one of the hottest that where they play that football stadium, that turf.
Browns versus
It's
Jets.
like one of the hottest places I've ever covered a game.
August 3rd. Hey, look, I cover games there obviously because it was right down the road in Canton.
It's hot.
It is.
The turf.
Look, it's a high school stadium. They don't put a whole lot into that field and everything like that. But the 1 year I did go and I was all set there, I was ready to watch the game. They canceled the game because the turf was crappy. I was at that game and it was really kind of crazy.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, it's not. It's not the.
So
it's
why
a
are
high
we
school
still
field.
doing that?
Well, because it's tradition. I mean, the Hall of Fame
Sometimes
is there. They have a
tradition is
stadium.
not.
And they have renovated the stadium. They have made some improvements. So I think.
Just put some grass on that puppy.
Yeah, but hey, the great part is the Jets will have Joe Klecko going into the Hall of Fame this year, and the Browns will have Joe Thomas going in, the great offensive tackle. So that makes me happy, right?
As long as it makes you happy, that's where we're going to end. When
Hey.
Scott's happy, we should just sign off.
Thank you.
Okay?
Hey, it was nice having you back tonight, Emily.
Oh, it was great being back. It was
Tremendous.
great.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow on Sports
Have a
Tonight.
good night.
Have a good night.